Good morning, I'm Rhonda Burkhart from HCC, and this morning we're going to be discussing the Activity Ledger Query, and that tool can be used to do financial analysis on reports and just kind of querying data, why values are the way they are in USAS. So I'm going to go ahead and share the guide. I emailed everybody a guide. And I want to bring this over here. Okay, so this is the guide that I sent out. So the Activity Ledger Query is located right under the transactions. And in that you can see details on purchase orders, invoices, disbursements, receipts, refunds, transfers, and distributions. And it's going to list each line item. So for example, for a purchase order, you would see line 1 of the purchase order, line 2 of the purchase order. So we'll go ahead and show an example of that. So here it's starting from our home screen on our demo instance. We'll go into the transaction, Activity Ledger Query. And for instance, we will just look at, let's see, let's find something here that has multiple lines. 216004 is the PO. So here on this PO, you can actually see what type it is. There's invoices. Everything associated with this PO is listed. So there's the invoice, disbursement, and the PO line items. So you can use your grid manipulation to sort that. So I wanted the PO first. So it'll list the PO first, then the invoice, and then the disbursement. That, so it's kind of like in the transaction order of things to go. And then if you would hit the shift key and then click next to the PO item, then it will say, okay, now this is this PO, this is line item 1, that's 15,000. Same PO, line item 2 is 15,000, line 3 is 10, and on that, and then you can see how it was billed out. So here you had a canceling invoice here for that amount, and then it was billed with these invoice numbers for that PO line item, and that is the amount for that invoice. And then going over, I've actually input the full account code. So under the More button, you can use that to adjust what is shown. Now, on the default, what they normally have under this first caret pop down, they'll have a bunch of user things checked, just that's the default. I would uncheck all of those, and then your second caret drop down here, this account, I would check this full account code, and I've shown you that on the guide on the second page. So here's where I have selected, I've shown the user, and I have unselected these. And then on the account, I've selected the full account code. And then of course the type under beneath the code, there's the type. And that is what you need to make sure is selected to see the PO, the invoice number, the disbursement. Also on the receipt side, there's receipts and refunds and things like that on there. Okay, so use your, after you've sorted what you want for your columns, then you'll start using your data filters. So here's one where I put in for the date, and then, so we've selected these. And then I used a PO filter. Now you can also use a date filter, and where you can use that in this date field right here, where you could say, oh, okay, I want greater than such amount, so if you wanted that, you could add like a filter like that. You can see I've got the greater than 6/1/2021 there. You could do that if you chose to do so. Right now I'm looking at a particular PO. So you can use it to do lots of different types of financial analysis. You can use it to analyze what's going on in your accounts for the fiscal year. There's other filters that you can use. The advanced query we've talked about. You can use that. I've entered an advanced query definition here. So I put one in here for fiscal year 2022. So for that, I moved the dates right here over, and I wanted it greater or equal than 7/1/2021. And then I just put in a description, I put save query. Okay, so I've got that one in there. And then if I apply that query, this is going to wipe out a bunch of what I've got. But I'm going to take that out. And then I could apply that. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So here you can see it wants greater or equal than 7/1/2021. And it's showing you things, items that are 7/1/2021 and greater than that. So there's a 7/23, a 7/5, go on like that, 7/15. So it's only going to show you a certain time frame. So it's great when you want to do things such as, and I'm just going to hide this, gives us more space on the page. And then if you wanted to clear that out, this little tiny button with a little magnifying glass, there we go. Got the little magnifying glass here, right next to the advanced query. That will clear your advanced query. There's also a slider button that will limit or expand your grid results. So if you move it over a little more, it'll tell you, you can go from 100, on up. So we'll just kind of stick it right there. That will kind of see how that changed there a little bit. So it expands your grid result to show you more of a selection there. You also have a report button where you can download things into Excel and work with them later. So on this one, here's one. So we've already filtered out with our advanced query that we want transactions in, greater than 7/1/2021. And you could even make that a between and, make it for the fiscal year. And then you could do things like limit it by account code and filter out that way and find out what transactions are for that. So in the guide, I have put that in there later on. So I had an account here, 001 27 24 41. Is it 24 41? And looks like I've got that already in there from the last time when I was working on the guide. So that will filter out that should have filtered out only transactions for that. I think in the guide we had it as 200 here. There we go. So then it's only filtering out any transactions associated with that account number. So for this, we came up with a purchase order, an invoice, and a disbursement. So we can see that was on this PO and that PO line item. You can see our invoice number and then your check number that it was paid on here. So, and we can also see the dates where that occurred. So your PO is 7/1 your invoice is 7/28, and then it was paid on 7/30. So it's a very valuable tool for doing the research. Also, you can get if you click on a line, you can get detail on that. There's a little sidebar there that shows the date, your PO number, your PO line item, the amount, who entered it, the vendor name, all the different items about that user. It'll give you an item description there, and it'll tell you the account code. So, and that's another thing that you could add if you wanted to with the more, is the description for the item right there. That's something you could add on. And then that's just more information. So when I did that, it took out my advanced query. So then I just hit that. I selected my advanced query. I hit apply. This is taking a lot of my screen real estate, so I'm just going to hide that. And then I had my, this one was what I was using. And so here you can see this item description over here. Maybe I want that in a little bit different spot. And then I can, I'll change that. And so this was for, it's saying telephone service, and then over here it's saying it was for the middle school and the disbursement. So that'll give you some descriptions there. So we talked about that. I'm actually going to go back and look at the different. So here we can see the amount, the invoice number, that's different with that. There's your description. And then for the disbursement, oh, that's the PO. This one's the top one. They flipped the disbursement number. So you can see in the disbursement, it shows your invoice number and your check number there and the amount that was paid. And then that different item description right there. Okay. So that shows you the different descriptions, the highlight window there on the side. And you can also do, we discussed the limitation of the grid, or how many results you want, but slide bar there. You can also get a report to create a quick report of your filtered data in PDF or Excel format. So you can filter that out. Let me have that down further a little bit. So like for this one, we use 1110, 551, 101. For that, I'm just gonna clear this out with our little button. I'm gonna put in a different count. 1, 10, whoop. 51, looks like I have that in there. Maybe not. 551 and then 101 out here. Let's see if that. Oh, that's 551. 551. There we go. Okay. So and perhaps I want to do. I think in our example we had the PO here, and you might want a. I forget if I did a date or not, but we can go greater than year. Okay, so we have this. For this transaction, we've got these PO transactions dated in the beginning of this particular fiscal year, a couple different vendors there, and it shows the POs and the line items for those accounts. And then you can get a report from that. And that's nice if you want, like, well, I just want to know how much I've got for a particular account for a certain time period. And that's great. That'll just go ahead and generate that. And that will total that up. So that'll give you a nice little quick total right there for that particular account for your PO items. And as I detailed it in the guide, you can see how that it's shown on your core accounts. So you can see, oh, what is encumbered? Well, I'm going to find out from our POs. I'm going to do what is the detail behind this number? That's something that's frequently asked. A detail which is on the report. What is the total for that in the report? Or what is in an account on the core account? What comprises this number? So the activity ledger query is a great resource to get that. And I've just actually had a lot of questions on it recently. One of our clients raised this question, for a particular example at OEDSA when I was at the OEDSA concert or the OEDSA conference. So I thought I would go ahead and then increased inquiries about it. I felt that it was time to do a webinar for this. So there's our encumbrances for that account, and then we were able to see that matches right there with what we looked at in our demo. You'll be using your actual data. And then we also had a report in here. This either before, this is just showing all the detail that it shows with that, it's like you can see your check number and your invoice number like we talked about before. And then there's the report that we generated, and I generated that live with you today. And you can also get a download of this. So maybe you're analyzing different, like for your fiscal year, you've got a date range for your fiscal year, and you want to see how are your encumbrances and what your different accounts are, then you could pull that into Excel. And then I did a pivot table there. So we'll do an example on that. We'll do a broader range. And what they've got here, maybe an 006s here. So they've got all the different 006s. I'm just going to pick on them and for this date range. So you could take that, do a report, and we're not going to do PDF this time. We're going to do Excel data, and we're going to generate that. Might take a little bit. There's probably a decent amount of data in our test system. We can open that up. Taking a little bit. There it is. Oh, it'll populate over this. This is our test site here. Okay. So this is our test data from the activity ledger query, and we downloaded it into the Excel data format. So with this, I'm just going to move that out a little bit. So you've got your dates in here, and you've got some descriptions, your full account codes. So what we can do is we can analyze how much is in each account for encumbrances. And I'm going to use a pivot table. I don't know if how many are familiar with pivot tables, but when you click on this top corner with that little triangle pointing in between the column A and row 1, you'll select all the data in the table. And then you would go into Insert at the top of the page, select Pivot Table, and then I'm going to use From this table and range, and I'm going to make a table on a new sheet. The new worksheet is going to be next to this one. Just going to say OK. So here it is. I'm actually going to move it right there. And I'm just going to call that pivot table. And so you have to think about, what do I want to put and where? So there's a filter that would appear above where you could filter things out. There's a column. There's a row. What do we want in my rows? What do I want my columns? And then there's sum of values. And you can use count. You can use the sum. So for this, I'm actually going to go down and I'm going to do by my account code. So my rows are going to be my account codes. This is actually a good one because of the amount that's there. So these are all my different accounts. And we know we're only using POs, I believe. So then we want to see how much is in each one. So on this one, that populated right down below there, and the sum of the amount. So, and then you can actually go in and you can format it. It's my favorite formatting style. So it can tell you, by using this as another financial analysis tool, how much of an encumbrance we have for each one of these accounts. So, and you can put different things in there. Maybe you're doing it at the appropriation level, and you might want to do, the different appropriation, the fund, the so many digits on the function and the object, 2-digit function, 1-digit object. And then you can see what's there by that. But this is doing it down at the ground level on the account code. So this is a great analysis tool to show what you have encumbered so far. That's just one example of how you can use it. I've kind of actually bridged into this. This was going to be my next topic, was financial analysis in Excel and doing pivot tables and doing some formulas. So we'll continue on with that in our next webinar. So I'm going to just stop sharing just briefly. I'd like to know if there's any questions. I can't see the chat or anything when I'm sharing. So go ahead and unmute if you've got any questions. Did I go through it like too fast of a pace? You want to see something again? Just feel free to open up, and I've got my ears are open. Do you have any questions about what I presented this morning? We're going to do another one. Yeah. Hi, Kelly.
Hey, how are you?
Great. How are you this morning?
Good. Hey, can you show, let's say you wanted to do an advanced query. So over there in that full account code, sometimes if I want to look just at a certain function, it won't filter because there's too much data there. So if I were to put percentage, the function percentage, it won't filter on that. Can you show me again? I think you did it, but can you show me, just go through it one more time, how you used advanced query to filter the full account code down to just a function?
Okay. All right. So here, number one, what I would do is, and I've shared my screen again, I would take our slide bar. I would take that out as far as it can go, number one. And just, if it can do it, let's have it do it. The other thing is, we've got the full account code here. I'm just going to take that out. Under this more, so if you want to go in, so you can go in and do things like, I just want to see the funds. I just want to see the function. So maybe we're looking at, we'll add a couple things in here. Maybe the object and the function. We'll add those. I think this is like a new improvement too on this, where they said you can filter on that. So maybe we're doing this, and maybe we want to say equals 1100. Let's see if that's going to work for this. Yes, that is that new improvement that they did. So
yep, that's it. That's all I needed.
Right. That's it. You're like, okay, I'm ready to check out. But I think they also have some down here, and it takes some kind of delving into. So those are, you know, that full account code's right there. So it's going to be under this. It's not under this code, but it's directly underneath here. So as we know in these mores, there can be different drop downs, and you just have to be careful which ones you're using. I think there's also some, let's see if in the code, this may or may not have it, but there might be some in there for maybe like some, so they've got one for cash accounts there that you could add. Now they've got some different, like the receipt item. You know, they might have something in there. You can do things like, oh, I want to see something for a created user. So there's a lot of different choices in here. It's just, we have to be careful what we choose. I think there was one for budgeting items and, you know, maybe like 2-digit function, 1-digit object. I think those were in there as well. I can't find them at the moment. But if all else fails, what redesign sometimes isn't capable of, you can just use that report mode and take it into Excel, and it will actually pull it into Excel, and then we could limit it there. So if we went back here and we have so many, like tons of these, you know, we can go through, and I'm going to use my data filter here. And I'm a big fan of also view and freeze pane's top row. So then if I'm going way down below and I've got tons of data, I'm never going to lose my headers. I love that. That's freeze pane's top row, and then data filter. And from here, you could say, oh, I want all of, you know, we can at least see the OPUs out here. So maybe I just want all of these, a certain account. Maybe I want these 101s for the OPUs. I can go down and choose those. And so here I've filtered down to find what I need there. And then of course you can just, you know, if I just want everything in 001 for 006, then I can just highlight that. And then down here in the bottom, kind of right, not quite the corner, you can see the sum of that, how many items are in there. And then if you want to do things like pivot tables on this abbreviated data, we're going to discuss that and probably in the next session, where you can just using some different Excel formulas and using that to do a financial analysis. So a couple, you got some extra Excel skills in there too. Okay. Are there any other questions this morning? Would you like me to review anything else? All right, we're going to go ahead and stop for this morning. And if you have any other questions specifically for your district, feel free to reach out in a ticket. I've talked to several districts already. As I said, this is why I thought this would be a great webinar, because I was showing districts how the activity ledger query works. And, I just felt it was needed, and it helps with budgeting. I've used help districts use it with budgeting, just financial analysis, and with audits and things like that. So we'll go ahead and we'll put this on our website in the usual spot under our training webinars. And it will also be listed on HCC's YouTube site. That will be the link that's on our website, and it will take you directly to that. So if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. We're always glad to help. Have a wonderful day.